how much should you spend on your fragrance collection? So, obviously, there are certain fragrances that are supremely expensive, and others that are actually quite affordable. So you might be wondering, how much should I spend on a fragrance? How about my entire fragrance collection? What's a good budget? All that. So basically, there's no correct answer for this. It's really just dependent on what you want out of your fragrances and your fragrance collection, what your goals are, if you have goals for your fragrance collection. So, to just go on the extreme side of things, you could either get something as cheap as a drugstore fragrance like Emerald by Coty, which is like $15 or so, very, very affordable, versus something that's extremely top tier like something from Creed, maybe Creed Aventus, or something from Parfum de Mali. These are going to be $300, $400. Some of them, like the Exclusive, even higher, depending on where you buy them. Buying directly from them, the designers or the niche brands, usually is more expensive than buying from a discount brand. But again, it's the vast opposite of the price spectrum. So you could spend hundreds of dollars or $10, it depends. Is there really a big difference about how much you spend? Yes and no, depending on, again, what you want from all this. So, because I have everything from drugstore fragrances to like Parfum de Mali and Creed fragrances. So, the whole range basically. And I would say it really depends on what you're looking for out of a fragrance. For example, one of my favorite fragrances is, I got it for $30, which is Youth Dew from Estee Lauder. And I think it's a great fragrance. It lasts forever. It is a nice, musky, spicy, feminine fragrance. Versus maybe something from Creed. Maybe, something, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But, my favorites, to put it simply, my favorite fragrances are not the most expensive. So you don't have to spend a huge chunk of your money to get a good fragrance, because certainly there are really good fragrances that are affordable. But again, depending on what you're looking for, maybe you are a Creed enthusiast, or a Chanel enthusiast, or Dior. So, once you choose a certain brand that you like, or a certain type of fragrance that you like, then you want to deep dive into that type, and you want to see, what's out there, how much are these fragrances worth, how much are they going for. And it's also important to note that the same fragrances can be sold at different prices depending on where you actually get them. So if you say you like a fragrance from Parfum de Mali, usually if you buy directly from them, it's going to be way more expensive than if you buy from a discounter. And at a discounter you can save hundreds of dollars sometimes, and you still get the same fragrance, the same quality of fragrance that you would have gotten if you bought from, directly from the manufacturer. So, keeping that in mind, you don't need to spend just tons of money just to get a good quality fragrance. Because most fragrance brands, they already put a certain amount of quality into their products. So, it's very difficult to get a low quality fragrance unless you really go out of your way to look for some shady dealer of fragrances. But overall, I would say you do not need to spend very much money to have a good fragrance collection. Now, then there's the question of the form that you get your fragrances in, because that can also, mess with your budget. For example, if you get always massive bottles of a certain fragrance, depending on how many milliliters are in those bottles, versus maybe you only get travel sizes or samples. Like, I have a huge collection of samples, which hardly cost me anything, but they're well sized enough to last, a decent amount of time. Some of them are pretty small and they don't last very long, but, and again, comparing, maybe you have just a little 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter bottle, or whatever, versus a massive, bottle the size of your head, which is obviously going to be like 4 times more expensive. So basically, that plays a big part of it, and how much money you're going to spend. And also, if you have any discount codes, any coupons, any like holiday deals going on. But again, I'm going to say it again, you do not need to spend a lot of money to have a good fragrance collection, or just a singular good fragrance. And now there are some exceptions in terms of if you're looking for a very specific type of fragrance, because, for example, maybe you want to get some exclusive Chanel fragrance. Obviously, you're going to have to spend a lot more than, if you want to buy Chanel No. 5, which is like $90, versus one of their exclusive options, which might be $300, $400. So depends on, if you want something extra special or not. But I would say most of my fragrances are, not all of them, like probably 40%, excluding the samples, are under $100. And I like them quite a lot. Like L'air du Temps from Nina Ricci, that's about a $50 to $70 fragrance, which I always say smells like Chanel No. 5, just like the more affordable version, which is a great floral aldehyde option. Youth Dew, like I mentioned before, and even some of the drugstore options, like anything from Coty, Emerald, Le Mans. All those are like $20. Even Taboo by Dana, another $20 option. They last a long time, they smell good, they perform well, versus, maybe like Pegasus from Parfum de Mali, which I really like the smell of, but it has horrible longevity. That's like a $300 fragrance, maybe even more expensive than that. So, it pays to kind of experiment with your different options. So you could try, the cheapest of the cheap versus the most expensive options, and see, which ones you like the best, because maybe you might like something you might have not expected to like. So again, it really depends on what you're trying to get out of a fragrance or your fragrance collection, and experience smelling these different options will obviously help narrow down your options and help you determine what you want out of your collection. But that is pretty much all I have to say about these types of fragrances, how much you should spend on your fragrance collection. And hopefully you found this video helpful. And if you did, of course, you can always leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.